So teach me about that, about the mask culture. How did that start? What is that about
Believe it or not, crazy enough, the mask goes back to the 1930s, early 1930s, and the first masked wrestler in Mexico was an American.
What?
Which is crazy. Yeah, that's from doing my research and learning how the mask came about in lucha libre. Yeah, it was an American that came over with the mask. And over the years, obviously, it evolved, and some like to say that it's a representation of the Aztecs and the Mayans for the face paint that they used to use before battle, which is very similar to what we do. You know, we step in the ring, we're going to battle. You know, but overall, it's been part of our culture since then, and the most famous mask in Mexico over the years has been El Santo, the Saint. And reason being is he was the first wrestler to ever jump from wrestling, lucha libre, into Hollywood. Yeah, so that mask became iconic.
He became an actor?
Yes. There's a lot of movies from...
But this is back in the day?
This is maybe late 60s, 70s. Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he wore like a silver
just
white
very
mask.
Simple.
Yeah,
no designs, just teardrop eyes. Yeah, everything covered up. His mouth, you can only see his lips, a little bit of his nose, and the eyes. That's it.
He did like Dracula. He did the Mummy.
Yes,
a lot of movies in the 60s, 70s. Wow, that's incredible.
Very cool movies. I grew up watching those movies. Very, very cool. Yeah. But especially as a kid.
In Mexico, the wrestlers, they would never take their mask off in the ring. No, the fans had no idea who they were.
Still to this day, yeah.
And they could walk around freely when they don't wear their mask. No one know who they were.
It's almost like you lived a second life. Yeah.
So I had a little bit of taste of that when I used to fight in Japan. I used to come home and no one knew who I was. And I thought about that. Like, man, I wish MMA guys could wear a mask.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, for me, before, because I lost the mask in late 90s against Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And before that, I was masked since 89. So going into WCW in mid 90s, I would always be very protective of my face. I wouldn't take pictures with fans without the mask. They wouldn't know who I was. And on top of that, like my physique, my build was very different from everybody else's. Like I was a kid in a world of grizzled men, you know, which was crazy. But for me, there was a distinction between the wrestlers during that era and myself. And in a way, that's what kind of gave me the popularity with the kids. And that's how the kids kind of attached to, who is this kid, man? And like Rey Mysterio said, you know, he said, since he was a kid, he's been watching me. So yeah, it's beautiful to hear stories like that where you've motivated or you've inspired someone throughout their life, and they grew up watching you.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you've inspired generations of kids who look at you as this, you know, resilient fighter who could go in there with, you know, superstar giants. Like you said. I mean, imagine a guy like The Undertaker. What is that guy, like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9"?
He's huge. He's huge, especially like, standing in front of him.
Yeah. So like you have these kids growing up looking up to you saying, this guy is going in the ring with some of the best to ever do it. And he looks like me and he has my size because you're not the tallest guy in the ring. Right. And so you've been like an inspiration for them. And like you said, that whole storyline leaking is a big deal. Like me growing up, I didn't think the toughest man on the planet was Frank Shamrock or Hoist Gracie. I thought the toughest man on the planet was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Undertaker. Oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like there was a different lure to a wrestler. I mean, in my opinion, you know.
Why do you think that was?
Well, because there was no social media. Yep. I didn't know if the Undertaker was really a vampire or not. I used to think this guy was like the boogeyman. I thought dude, I thought if you closed the lights and you said Undertaker 3 times, he'd pop up. Like I thought if I walked into a bar and someone was drinking a beer, Stone Cold would come out smashing things. Like I've been smashing things for years because I always wanted to smash. You know? Like these guys were characters. They were real life movies. They were like reality shows before reality TV, and I got to follow them and learn about them. But dude, my family, I have a cousin Maria, obsessed with wrestlers, and she's a woman, and this is all she loved doing. She don't watch UFC. She still watches wrestling because there was storylines, there was characters. But now I feel like it gets leaked a little bit, and then maybe people that are above a certain age feel like, oh, I can't watch that. I need to go watch UFC or something, because then they feel maybe they're not attaching to a character. But we still see wrestling growing at the highest levels.
Yeah, especially
so
now.
It's interesting. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic right now.